But one of the next things that I really would love to hear your tools on how to heal, because anxiety is prevalent. Now, my perception of anxiety, and I would love to hear yours, is that you're not broken when you experience feelings of anxiety. And I think what I hear a lot of people say is I suffer with anxiety, which for me, I like to reframe the word suffer and say experience, because I think we're all built perfectly to have these feelings to help guide us and use them as invitations. So for a person that is experiencing anxiety, what is your tools and best practices in knowing how to move through life with them? Because I think we can all experience it, because that can help guide us. Like, I have moments where I have anxiety when my kids go up to dogs without asking the parent. And I think that's, to me, it's just innate for me to go, my kid's danger, threat, me need to turn on, I need to be there. Or if there's a pool with no fence or whatever it may be. So I think anxiety can be an invitation to protect the environment. Now, if somebody's anxiety is ruling their life, unruling social settings, if they're learning how not to drink or take drugs when they go to a party, whatever it may be, I'm just wondering, what tools would you say to equip them with, and how could you best support them?
Yeah, they need to first of all do lots of sort of band-aid approaches, which is all the nervous system regulation tools you've got, like grounding, that kind of stuff. And I say they're band-aid because they actually help in the moment, but they're not getting underneath to work with what is causing the anxiety in the first place. But you want to feel safe, first of all. So lots of those tools that you can use, and then it's about getting underneath and starting to unpack it. Remember this thing? Remember this? Right? That's anxiety. It's full. You're just like this. That's anxiety, right? Anxiety is not "Ugh," like that. Anxiety is like "Ugh," right? So what we want to do is get you feeling safe in your body first and feeling grounded and having tools that you can use to start to break the cycle of anxiety. So what you've said about using anxiety to help you to make good decisions is beautiful, right? So yes, you want to get out of the way of the oncoming car. Yes, you want to make sure that there's a fence around the pool or that your kids are safe around it. Yes, you want to teach them to never pat a dog unless the owner said it's okay. All that kind of stuff. Yep, beautiful. We need it. It's part of life. But when you feel like you have things like overwhelming social anxiety, pervasive anxiety, so ongoing anxiety, we want to there's something triggering that. So we ultimately want to unpack that and get underneath it. But first of all, I would say use grounding techniques, use anything that
Breathwork.
can help you to feel safe in your body to begin with, and make a practice of it. So you want to invest in it. So whatever that is, that might be going to yin yoga classes for you. It might be going to it might be
Breathwork.
going running. It might be
Yeah.
doing yes, look, sometimes breath work can be too stimulating. It really depends on what's going on for you. Breath work is really beautiful, but it can be a bit stimulating as well. So remember how I was talking about earlier about the vagus nerve and how the only way that you can pack everything down is for your body to contract around the pathway of the vagus nerve? Well, one of the places that happens is the diaphragm. The diaphragm will go like this around the vagus nerve to prevent too many overwhelming things from coming up. So if you're fully overwhelmed and then you go and do a massive breath work section or try and take a really deep breath, you might find that it actually releases more than you're ready for right now. So first case scenario is like, let's get you safe. And then we go in, we titrate. We don't want to go, take the lid off, have a massive catharsis. That's not safe. That's your nervous system will go and double down on that. And it might feel good at the time, but that's actually ego more than anything else, right? You want the most powerful way to work with it is to titrate it. So you slowly undo the lid, let off a little bit of pressure. Then the next one, then the next thing. What that might look like is if someone was working with me, I might be like, right, where do you get anxious? Where's it most pervasive? And then we start to work through those scenarios. So let's say there's one thing in particular, then I'd want to start unpicking that and go and use it as a pathway into them, unpick it, unpick it, unpick it, what created this in the first place. And when we can get to the bottom of what created it, which might take a little while, it might take a long time, then we heal what's at the bottom of it, and then you don't need it anymore.
What about though, because I use breath work most days. I guess breath work as a whole sounds like you're going and you're doing like an hour breath work release. But for me, I know that when I'm feeling it, and if you're watching this, YouTube or whatever, you can actually see that I do it throughout each episode as well. It's coming back to my breath. And when I talk about a specific topic, or I'm listening to a specific topic, and I can feel my body go into a response, that I can feel my body, either my shoulders come up or my chest tightens, or I can feel my heart palpitations. I ground my body back into the chair, soften off my shoulders, and then I start doing some big, deep belly breaths, and I just tell my body I'm safe, because I think with a
Hmm.
lot of these topics, it can bring up those emotions. And whilst it might not be experiencing anxiety, I guess I do refer to it as breath work when in minuscule, even when you're driving, big, deep belly breaths to center. And I find myself now, because I've lived out of the city for so long, I do find myself, when I go into really big environments now, I do feel more feelings of anxiety, and I have to do that. I have to just come back to my breath and do I guess would you call it micro breath work, to help
Mm.
release the
Yeah,
band-aid
no, I hear
effect.
what you're saying, using the breath as a tool for your own regulation. And
Yes.
yeah, if that works for you, that's great. Some people it doesn't work for. So it's
Okay.
really, there's no one size fits all.
Mhm.
It is what works for you. And sometimes people can be super anxious and someone will say to them, take a deep breath, and they can't. It makes them feel more anxious. So it really depends. But over time, if they started to learn to work with their breath, then that might shift for them. But it depends. Each person's so unique. So you do want tools that fit you, that help you in the moment to go, oh, I can feel that pressure rising. How do I bring some groundedness? How do I bring some calmness right now? Because I need it right now. Because we all do. Like, we don't want to be in a situation where we're in a work meeting or something and then we feel so overwhelmed we can't do it. We need our tools in that moment to help us. And then we want to go, why does that keep happening to me? Why am I getting triggered by that? There's more work to do on that. Am I ready to do the work? Not yet. Okay, cool. I'll keep using my tools. And when I'm ready to follow that pathway, that trigger all the way back to the root of it, then I will. And that's the really powerful work. That's when our life starts to change. That's when we start choosing differently. We start to create a different reality because we actually pull something out by the root and we don't have that trigger anymore. So a very sort of like a simple example of that is that I used to be terrified of flying, like terrified, and I had to travel for work. But this is years ago, and I was terrified of flying. So I would just get drunk every time I had to fly, and I'd go sit in meetings, and it would be terrible because I'd be so hungover. It was just horrific, right? But that's how terrified I was of flying. After a few years of doing somatic work, and I had never done any specific work on flying, but I had undone the pressure in my system so hard, or so much, not hard, but I'd undone so much pressure in my system that one day I found myself on an airplane and I was flying and I was like, I didn't even think about this. Like, I wasn't even scared of it. And now I love flying. So can you see how that's changed my reality? That whatever it was in me that was getting triggered into placing my fear onto an airplane. So I'd never had a plane crash or anything, but I was placing it onto that because our minds like to have a place to put our anxiety. I had worked with what was underneath it, and now it's changed my life because I now love going on airplanes. Whereas previously, I would not go on a holiday on an airplane, I would drive somewhere. So we change our realities when we do the inner work. When we want to, the inner work is up to us because we do have lots of tools that we can use to try and create some sense of calm and peace and whatever in the moment. But remember that while that's happening, you've still got the underlying programs that are still running, and you can work on those when you want to. I have some clients that work with me for a period of time, then they go, I want to take a break now. And it's like, cool. And they might come back when they're ready for the next layer. It's not, we don't have to empty it all out at once. We can take it at our own pace.
The last one that is coming up for me that I feel in my own journey was one of the reasons, one of the first, I wouldn't say first, it was probably a prevalent reason at one point in my life. I was about 22 years old, so about 9 years ago. I was about a year into being with my now fiance, and I felt a lot of insecurities circling and coming up. And it was to
Mm,
the point I said to myself that if I don't figure this out, and if I don't heal this, I'm going to push him away. I'm going to self sabotage. I'm going to ruin this relationship. I'm going to project all of my insecurities that he's going to cheat, he's going to leave me onto him so much to the point he actually will. And
mm,
I had to really work on it, and it took years. And I wonder if the person that's sitting with us today, listening, has those same feelings of insecurities and it puts a driver in between their relationship. If you could talk directly to them, how would you help
mm.
them?
Well, your current reality is a mirror of your inside world. So it's never random in terms of relationships like that. The relationship and what's coming up for us is mirroring stuff that we've experienced before in our life or that maybe we've inherited through the DNA. So I would say, excellent. You've identified everything. It would feel really awful sitting in that position. And I understand that 100%. It's like, I'm not taking that away from it. But because you've identified all of that, we can now work on each layer of that and heal each part of you that has at some stage in your life been hurt, been abandoned, been traumatized, believed that you're not good enough. And we can heal all those parts so you no longer bring that into the relationship anymore.
What if you're on the receiving end? So, what if you're that other person and you're not doing anything wrong? You are living your life, you are still going out and seeing your friends, and they might be male or female, and your spouse is at home, incredibly insecure, triggered, feeling sick, not comfortable, feeling like all of these things are coming up and they're projecting it onto you, and but they don't feel yet ready for healing work, and it's getting put onto you, and then you're changing your life. Then what do you
Mm.
do with that?
Very tricky. Once again, I always work with whatever the person's come in with, and we follow that pathway down. So if someone's come to me and said that, I would say, okay, well, what happens for you? Like, how are you feeling about it? And if they're feeling anxious, suffocated, cornered, or etc., I will say, we can work with all of those different triggers that you have. We can go in and work with them and heal them. But this is what I always say to people who come in working on their relationships. Because once you start to do the deep healing work, you literally change how you feel about the world. For example, my issue with flying. I now love flying. Because you are going to rewire yourself to the degree that you change how you feel, it might mean that you evolve out of a relationship, or sometimes it means that your partner starts to evolve as you do, which is really, really interesting. Another thing that I have seen happen is that when one person does their work, then they stop hooking into the triggers from the other person, and then the other person realizes that they are the one that now needs to do the work. So it depends on the situation as to what happens. But like I said, I'm always working with the person with what they're bringing to me and how they're feeling at this point in time. And I'm tracking those feelings back to find what's happening in the body when that's going on, what's happening in the nervous system, what's happening in the brain, what's happening in the hormonal system, your immune system, what's happening in all parts of you. And we might do some inner child work around that, etc. But I want to go, let's follow this all the way down and find out what's happening and let's heal it at the very core of it, and then you no longer need to carry that trigger anymore. And that is life changing.
Whilst we're talking about relationships, narcissism has been something that I have really been going into the depths of for the past few years. So, what's coming up for me as I listen to this is if the person is choosing not to do the work, but they're projecting all of their shit onto you, and you're the one that goes, right, I'll take it on and I'll look at the triggers, and you're the person that takes the accountability over the responsibility, and the person on the other end takes no accountability, no responsibility.
No, I've had this several times. So yes, I have many people who come to me because they have a partner like that. And there's a specific way in which that works. Let me just say myself that the most, some of the most powerful healing in relationships I've ever experienced myself is when I was in a narcissistic relationship and I kept looking at myself and I kept doing the healing over and over, and that person never, ever, ever, ever did it. But I evolved like nothing I've ever, like it was like fast track evolution for me, but I committed to it. And then when I had evolved to the point that I was strong enough and I went, I know you're never going to do the work, that was the end of the relationship. But I healed so much and I loved that person. But I kept doing the work. I kept showing up into therapy. I kept doing all my own work around it. And so much was cleared out around for me about my abandonment issues, my sexual trauma, everything, right? So that's the first thing. It is a fast track path to healing yourself. However gritty and horrific and so sad it's like it can get into your heart and rip your heart apart. It's so full on in terms of, so I see people, I hear people who are in that situation. I really get it. In terms of people who've come to me for their own work when they are with someone who appears to be narcissistic, and of course, I can't diagnose someone as narcissistic or not, and it's their partner. I don't know their partner, right? But they will come in and I'll start to pick up all the indicators of what's going on. And once again, I'm working with this person in front of me. And my job with them is to go into every way that they're getting triggered. All their abandonment wounds will come up and we work with them. All their belief about their self-worth, all of that will come up in that relationship and we'll work with it so deeply. And they always get to a point where they go, I don't want this anymore. And however long that takes them is their journey. And they'll get to that point. So yeah, it's powerful. Narcissism is, it's really sad. I mean, someone who's narcissistic does not live in a great inner world, and it comes from a lot of trauma. And I think I'm not entirely sure about this, but I've seen things that indicate to me it can actually come through the DNA as well. But I can't tell you that for sure. You know, it's just what I've seen with my own eyes and experienced in my own work with people who are suffering from narcissistic relationships. That's a love relationship, right? Which might end when it's the father of your children or the mother of your children, or it's your mother or it's your father. That adds a whole nother layer of complexities because it's not necessarily like you're going to break up potentially, then not see that person again. It's likely that they're still going to be in your life to some degree, and then that becomes ongoing work for you should you choose to do it. It becomes ongoing work that can create so much internal evolution for you if you want to do the work. But once again, the narcissistic person is not going to look at their stuff ever. You can look at yours and learn how to put in boundaries that keep you safe, learn how to effectively manage your relationship with them, and then keep going inside to every time they get you, every time they set you up, every time you get triggered. It's like about going in and going, what didn't I see that time? What happened in me that I once again handed over my power? What happened in me that I tried to compete with them at that point? What happened in me that I tried to control them, that I forgot for a moment that they didn't have my best interests at heart, that I fell into the trap of thinking maybe they've changed. Every time, what happened for me and what part of me needs to be seen and lovingly held and worked with.
Just want to take the time for if the person that is listening to us who has had a narcissist in their life, you are not broken, you are not wrong. Listen to how your body feels when you're around them. And yes, they may not change and they may never, ever look in the mirror and go, where can I be accountable and responsible for the breakdown of this relationship? And it is heart-wrenching
It's
because
heart
if you're in that
wrenching.
position, you still may feel it. And one day you go, yep, I'm just going to have to pull back. And then you give some time and then you go, oh, maybe I should just reach out. Maybe we could just try again. Oh, I miss them. Maybe they've changed. And then you go through it again and being met with the same circumstance that you're the issue, you're broken, you're this, you're that, whatever the narrative that you've been sold. So I really just want to take time because this episode has been a big one. There's been a lot of trigger points, but it's also been filled with so much love and so many tools and so much in it that if you're listening and you feel the urge and the calling, make sure you reach out to somebody and you talk to that safe person that understands you, whether that be a psychologist or someone in the modality of somatic healing like Liz. Reach out. And again, me with my harsh realizations, something that I come back to, but it works for me because I am a hard ass and it works, is no one's coming to save you. No one's going to make the phone call for you. No one's going to make the booking for you. No one's going to do it for you. You need to step up and do it for yourself. And I promise you there's light at the end of the tunnel. Liz, thank you so much for your time today. Before I let you go, how can people find you?
Thank you for having me. It's been such a pleasure. I've loved talking to you. We must do this again. I work privately, but I have a whole online space, and in my membership, I've actually set up a way for you to learn how to actually work with your own body somatically and specific somatic sequences for different things. So for attachment traumas, for anger, for working with grief, for working through relationships, for working with the immune system, I set up specific somatic sequences for you to slowly work through and to learn how to actually work with your own body and your nervous system to start to unpack and go to the deeper layers. So and I do retreats and workshops as well. So you can find me on Instagram or my website. So I don't know if you can put that in the show notes or something, Ebony, but I can pass that on to you. And yeah, yes,
Of
thank you so much for
course.
having me. I love what I do so much. So I'm really honored to have been here and been given the time to talk about it.
Thank you so much for being here.